So that's a big shot in the arm to our area. So this is what the LSTs did. Landing ship tank is what it is. Now, every time I look at a football field, you go out here and look at Castle, you go look at Enloe, you go look at, I fit 3, every time I look at a football field, I don't see a football field, I see 3 LSTs. 3! They're 50 feet wide, a football field's 150 feet wide. You put 3 of them in there. A football field's 330 feet long, these things are 308 feet long. So you put 3 of them in there every time you see a football field. Heck with those football fields. Those things fit in a football field, 3 of them. Now the front of it's just like Jonas the whale. It opens up. And that's the magic of it. They made this down in South America in 1939, something similar to this, for bringing oil from Venezuela out to Aruba. And they modified that, put some ballast on it, changed the front doors of it. And what happened in Dunkirk, we about lost 300, we saved 330,000 troops. And Churchill said, if you can't get men and machines to the land, you're not going to win this war. That's one of the answers. 15 Sherman tanks inside. The belly opens and opens up, and you unload the tanks or the people or whatever else you got in there. So this is after D-Day. This gentleman talked about D-Day plus 3, or somebody's a D-Day plus, or D-Day plus 3, the third wave. These are, they put these things up so those Luftwaffe couldn't come and bomb you or strafe you. They couldn't fly too close to you. They try to catch them with the wires there. They had a lot of those at the Panama Canal also to try to protect the Panama Canal. But this is at low tide. You come in at high tide, and then the ocean goes out, and then you empty everything, and then you go back out in 24 hours. So you're a sitting duck for 24 hours. So you better have it pretty well protected. So this is what they're doing on D-Day. The tide differential then was as much as 17 feet. So it was allowed us to do a lot. A lot of magic in that day. Bad storms on the 4th and the 5th, and the 6th they luckily got in. It says here 4,400 deaths, but that was just Americans. Okay, so whatever happened to all our LSTs? A lot of them are in our interstates right now. They've used them for the steel for the interstate. A lot of them scrapped, and that's what they used it for. 20% used their different commercial. There's 3 or 4 of them used in the world right now to transport, as a ferry transport. Some to foreign service. One was sold to Greece, and that's where we got our LST here at Evansville. 9% sunk and 2% sold to private parties. They were really done pretty well. If you go to the big, these big power plants like Duke Energy, you go look at what they do when they do all this welding and soldering. They got to X-ray everything to check quality assurance. We didn't X-ray anything, but these things held together in general. They were very good ships, and they had a lot of stress out there in the ocean. That ocean's a mean, mean place. There's one LST functioning that's left in the world today. That's right here in Evansville. Okay, so try to send your family, send your kids, send grandkids, somebody down there to look at it. One left in the world. There were 7,000 ships at D-Day. There's one ship left from D-Day right here in Evansville. Right here. So you got to get kids to understand and get kids to how important that was. My dad was on that for 4 years in World War II. So I got this lecture about 1,000 times. Well, more than that probably. Okay. But on an LST, all ships have a big anchor on the front. The LST has a big anchor on the front, but it's a bigger anchor on the back. And they put it on the back because when you land, you want to hold it straight so that water doesn't push you over this way. Also, it helps you pull you back off. Remember, our LST got caught down at Barkley Lake. It got adrift there about 5 years ago. And they used that back anchor to help pull it off. I think just raising the water helped more than anything else. Like that one in the Suez Canal just got stuck. I think the water did a lot more than any cranes do. Okay, now, this is another plant. Now, I know some of your ancestors worked there. That's called Whirlpool. But before it was Whirlpool, there were 15,000 employees, and they left town, and the last day, they had about 2 sentences in our paper. With only 15,000 paychecks coming from 1960 all the way to 2,000 something. Is one of our best employers. It was essential to the economy of our tri-state area. So this building was made less than 6 months. Started on the south, went to the north, okay? That was called Republic Aviation. That was sold to International Harvester. Then it's Whirlpool, and now it's, I don't even know owns it now. Okay, those are all cars from 1930s. That's an aerial view what it looks like. This is the front management building, and that actually looks like an airplane. You look at that, it looks like an airplane. It's the red building. It still stands in front of this great big blue building, starting from the south, working to the north. So made in a very short period of time. My aunt worked in there from 1941 and 42. So I'd ask her about it. And Hoffman were the construction people for this. And she worked for them. They moved out of that building down to the Holman building downtown in 44, 45. But Hoffman also helped construct St. Benedict's church and also Memorial High School. So they were big construction people in Evansville at that time. So they were in charge of that project. Now, after you got done with making this plane, what we do is there's a runway out there. You bring it out here to the runway, and you do two things. You first see if it had brakes. That brakes, you don't check the brakes. The next thing you check is to see if it's a compass was working right, and that compass checker is still out there on the airport property. The third thing, you go shoot the bullets into that hill there towards Sunset Cemetery, and this is what you're doing. You're trying to come on here. Yeah, but you're trying to make sure all the bullets land at in the same spot, and they're calibrating those bullets, and those are tracer bullets on that. And there's all the they're 50 caliber, so those bullets are the size of my finger like this. Okay, that's the size of bullets. So you got 8 guns. They're Browning automatics, no pun intended, but 8 of them on each side. 4 on this side, 4 on this side. There's 250 bullets running here, another 250, another 50,000 bullets in each wing. 1,000 bullets. You pull the trigger, all the bullets are gone in 23 seconds. That's all 9 yards. That's where that term comes, all 9 yards. All 9 yards is you better get back to port, or better back to your airport, because you ain't got any more offense. It's all gone. That's what they mean, all 9 yards. Came from this term right here. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Dr. Brennan, my family moved here as that plant opened up from Sparta, Tennessee. My mom was an inspector for the wings on the P-47, and my dad made the bullets over on Diamond Avenue.
Wow.
And there was no housing here. They moved into an attic in McCutcheonville, carried everything in and out, no heat or anything up there, and then later bought a mobile home and put it in the Evansville Mobile Home Park just north of the Twin Bridges there, or the single bridge at that time.
Okay, lots of comments there, very good. Okay, first of all, Mom worked at the Public Aviation Inspector. If you know the guy Schmidt, they were part of Clayton Cleaners and all that, Pearl Cleaners, all that, but he's at our airport all the time. We have a big photograph. His mom's up on top of a wing. She was one of the inspectors too. So that she must have been very respected to get that, to be an inspector, because she didn't get that job. She must have been pretty smart.
She was in accounting, and she was good with mathematics, and they taught her to use the micrometer and measure. But all the wings, I'm sure you're going to tell it, but all the wings for all P-47s were made here. The other craft were made in other places too, but all the wings were made here.
Okay. Before I get to the wings, let's get to you got more to say? Sure. You got more to say, you pipe up. You're more important than me. Okay? You pipe up.
My wife worked out there, but I wasn't.
Okay, she worked out there. So that age bracket, like my mother worked at Chrysler. She's the same age bracket as him. Okay, a lot of people worked out there. So his mom and dad his dad worked at Serval, making the wings.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, making the bullets.
Made the bullets, sorry. Bullet. Okay, so made the bullets. Okay. All right. But, so they came from Tennessee. Okay. Well, they came a long way. Most people came from in 50 miles of here. Okay. They came from Hatfield. So they stuffed the buses. Okay. They stuffed everything. Yes.
Tom Doty, how you doing?
Doty, I found some of the bricks out there too. And I didn't put you on the brick, or your family on the brick, but I found 3 bricks out there too.
Okay, hey, what year did your mother graduate from Memorial?
41. She's born in 23. He's born in 23.
Okay,
11.
23?
Yeah.
23. So he's 99. My mom would be 99. Your dad's same.
Mom was 37, graduate of Memorial. She also was at Republic Aviation, and she was also an inspector.
This Mr. Doty, he said his mom graduated Memorial in 37, so she would be 103 right now, and then she was inspector as well.
Then she moved over on where they made the ammo. She was also an inspector over there.
So then they moved to the ammo. She moved to the ammo. She got to inspect a little bit of everything. Okay, we'll talk about ammo in a minute. But she was from Evansville. My mother was from Evansville. They had a place to live. This guy, what's your name, sir?
Ron Davis.
Ron Davis. Okay, his mom and dad didn't have a place to live, so they lived in some attic. So it was called hotbedding then. Now, what's a hotbed mean? Okay, if I have a house and I got a couple extra beds in the house, I'm sleeping there, and then I go work at Republic Aviation. I get out of the bed's still hot, and somebody else gets in the bed. That's called hotbedding. Well, what are you going to do with 60,000 people?
Yeah.
60,000 new workers? What are you doing? And they were in an attic. People were stuffed everywhere. And people that lived 50 miles away would stay here on the weekdays and go home on weekends because the shifts were very long. So they would double shift, do all kinds of things. So it was a social nightmare here, okay? I mean, you get 60,000 people, you know, they don't all have the best behavior, you know. A lot of them do, but not all of them. Yes, ma'am.
I worked at Whirlpool, and we still had steel in the building that had the holes drilled in it for the airplanes. We used the steel. I guess it was surplus, and they used when they built on the airplanes. Not long before we shut down did we take out those doors that rolled the airplanes out at the end of the building. We still had the ability to raise those doors, but we took all the mechanics out and sealed them up. Probably in 2005 or so, 5 years before we closed down.
Yeah, so
We closed down in 2010.
So 2010 is when they closed. Okay, but we want to go out and video that because a lot of the inside plant still is very similar. Whirlpool didn't change it all around. International.
They used some of that steel. It had the pre-drilled,
Yes.
they had the holes drilled in it, and for some reason it was not usable. And so when they built on or separated the walls or something, they put that steel in it, and you could still see a lot of that in there.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go video that. We got 3 chairs up here. You want them? Okay, you guys can have them.
That's all
I
we're
wouldn't
not.
stand. Hey,
No, we're not.
there's 3 chairs. They got cushions on them. Okay. So this is the P-47. Now, after the P-47, after you got finished there, then the test pilots would go flying around. Now, out of 6,200 or so made here, we only had 2 that crashed. And I don't think anybody died. So that's pretty good quality control, 6,200. So they flew them around. And then the women would fly. They're called the ferry pilots, WASP. There were 18 of them that trained in Texas, 13 of them passed the course, and 13 of them, they ferried them everywhere. These and all kinds of other places, they were actually very good pilots, some better than the men. And they were the ferry pilots across the country. So most of them would ferry up to Lawrenceville. And you ought to go to Lawrenceville, Illinois. That airport's gigantic. I mean, there's big runways there, and they've even closed 3 or 4 of them. And you go to Breckenridge, there's 3 big runways down there. You wouldn't believe all the airstrips made because of World War II. And this plane then would do that. That would, so this is called a bird cage. That's a bird cage. That's how we made all the planes up until 43. Then the pilot said they couldn't see behind themselves, so they put the bubble top. So up here on this hill right over here somewhere, a lady named Martin, M-O-R-T-O-N, lives. Judy Martin, and her husband, who's deceased, was Tom Martin, and his dad was Thomas Martin. He's a father of plastics, okay? Father of plastic, and we're plastic capital of the world. And he helped build that bubble top for that, and also B-24. He brought injection molding over from Germany in the 1930s, and we became a plastic factory world partly because of that bubble top. So this inside. This is what it looks like if you're a pilot, and you can come out to our airport or our museum. You can stand there and look at the inside of that. We got a stand to go up. It's very safe. And then on the bottom of these planes, this is just like the Warthog. That's one of our most modern planes now. It can shoot rockets, it can shoot bullets, and it can also drop bombs. This could do all 3 of those things. It didn't do the rockets very well, but it dropped bombs fairly well. Alan Sanders, who just died at 99, in January this year, flew this plane, and he would drop it, a bomb skipper. You drop the bombs, you tear everything up on the land. They'd hit the trains, they'd hit trains, they'd hit tanks, hit bridges, hit everything else. These are the women that help with these guns, and look how the size of those guns. Those 4 guns were in one wing, another 4 in the other wing. Look at the size of those. So this is the Thunderbolt. The unique thing about the Thunderbolt is it's air cooled. Now, if I go out to your cars out here and I go and shoot a bullet in your radiator, you're not going to get very far. You'll probably get to the west side of Evansville and then you'll be stuck because the car will overheat. The Spitfire, the Zero, and the Messerschmitt all were water cooled. Water cooled means 1 bullet through the radiator, they're toast. This one was what you call air cooled. So it came back with as many as 200 bullets, 3 cylinders out, it still flies. So this thing would last because it was air cooled. A tremendous invention for that. This is some of the terror it did when it hit the ground with either the bullets or the bombs, when you see everything torn up on the ground. As Hitler's troops were retreating up Italy, Patton loved these planes because they would hit all his troops trying to run away. They'd hit all his trains, hit all his troops, hit his tanks, hit everything. So Patton really liked it. Right now, there's a debate how many are airworthy, but at most 14 are airworthy. Some people say a lot less. We have one out here. There were 6,200 made here, about 8,000 made in Farmingdale, New York, and 4,000 or 400 or 250 at Curtis. So not very many flying. This one was just redone out in Idaho, Dottie May. It's in perfect condition. Cost a fortune to redo it. This is big set. Ours was called Big Ass Bird in World War II, and then people like that name, they changed to Tar Heel Howl. Now we moved it to Hoosier Spirit 2, because Hoosier Spirit was the first one that came off that on my wife's birthday, September 17th of 1942. Hoosier Spirit one that some of these people's parents helped with that. Now, I've done talking about airplanes because I got to cover a lot of material today. Now the second one was the bullets. Somebody's talking about the bullets. But what he talked about the airplane, I'm glad he said that about the wings. Okay, we had 2 other factories in the United States making P-47s. From my understanding, we made the wings here at Hoosier Cardinal, Cervelle, other places. We made the wings, and then we packed them in a box, put them on trains, some of these other places. So in Farmingdale, they made 8,000 planes. That means 16,000 wings. And also, you made a lot of spare wings because when things were torn up overseas, they'd rather put a whole wing on than just try to fix it. So we had a lot of extra wings. So wings were made here and done very well. Lucy Wanseeder helped with the tail part of the wing, and she's still living. She's 98, lives on Outer Lincoln Road, and we've interviewed her, and we put everybody on YouTube. We got to put him on YouTube too. Okay, so this is the magic. If you trace what FDR did in 1943, he went all around, not all around the United States, but what his trip was about 7,000 miles by train, 500 by car. And he started in Washington, D.C., went down south, and went way out close to Arizona, up to Denver, and back through our place, and came through Evansville and toured all our plants. What he was looking at is what his industrial infrastructure had created across the United States. And he looked at our factories, and he's got pictures of that somewhere. We got them out there at the museum. But this is the other creation. Walter Chrysler, his ego's bigger than this building, okay? Because the government said, can you make a bullet? He never made a bullet in his life. Oh, I can make bullets. Can you make 3 billion of them? Maybe I can make them. But I mean, the guy, those industrials had big egos. Well, his was a big ego. But he came through, so I don't distrust that guy. Okay, so you make a bullet like that. It's not easy to make a bullet. So we made bullets like that. Most of the women make bullets. This is what the 45 bullet looked like, okay? And that, we started with brass casing, ran out of brass, we had to make it steel. So the metallurgist had to make a change within 2 weeks. And then we made the bullets, we put them in this box here, I got done with that. Then we put them in these big boxes, great big wood boxes. And we sent them over to Europe, everything was happy. We sent $1.5 billion over there. We made 96% of the bullets for these 3 guns, okay? 96 of the bullets for this 45, and that looks like a Tommy gun. They changed it with a clip, it worked better. That looks like what Elliott Ness used, or those guys up in Chicago. Okay, but they put in the wood boxes, and then they sent over to MacArthur. MacArthur didn't like it, because he wanted to bury the bullets and hide them from some people, and the elements would get to the bullets. So there's a guy from Ballsy High School that created, it's called like a tuna can. They call it the spam can. And you look at it, open like that, but it's airtight. So what we would do is run those cans through water. There's a vacuum there. It's called vacuum air. We still use it in the industry today in the plastic factories, and that made sure that this was waterproof and element proof. So that is a Ballsy High School. Then went to UV, graduated in 32, and he looked like a little kid on the board of Chrysler. When you read their book, he looks like he's a baby, and all these other guys are 65 or 70, but he was the youngest, but he had that patent. They stole the patent rights from him. Chrysler kept them. Walter. Okay, so these are women make the bullets. Most of the women made bullets. In 2.5 years, we made 3 billion bullets. Now, a bullet like that's about this size. So if you could make a bullet, this one right here, she could probably she could make 100 bullets a minute. It'd take her from the Revolutionary War till now to get those bullets done. I mean, she'd have to have 3 or 4 lifetimes to do that. That's how many bullets were made here, mostly by women. And look at them sorting it out. We never made a bullet in our life, and they never made these bullets. All right. Now, I'm moving to topics. We had 80 factories in World War II, made 330 different products. So I can't cover all those factories, but I am going to talk about Bucyrus. The reason I'm talking about Bucyrus is because we're here in Newburgh. And what Bucyrus do, they made the shovels for all the bulldozers. So a lot of coal here, a lot of what do you call those things, those lines of coal. What do you call a line of coal? Yeah, the drag line. We made part of the drag lines here at Bucyrus here. So the drag lines and bulldozers are very important. I just said the industrial infrastructure won World War II, and that's what that Yamamoto said. He says, you've just awoken a sleeping giant. The sleeping giant was industrial infrastructure. It wasn't we made better. We made more of everything. They just kept coming and coming and coming because we had 78% of the world's natural resources, and we weren't limited by that. Now, rubber was a problem here. We had enough gas, we didn't have enough rubber. So guys had new Chryslers, they were sitting in their garage for 2 or 3 years because he had 3 tires. You couldn't get rubber. Rubber was a problem in World War II. Okay, now this is Chrysler, okay? Now you go down to Evansville Port, these hooks are still down to Evansville Port. And they would put them out on the barges and we made 250 Chryslers a day or Dodges and put them out on the river and take them places. Now they can't do it that way anymore. They got to get there fast, so river, heck with it. But anyway, a couple of those barges sunk, so if you want old Chryslers on the bottom of the river out there, fine. You got to fix it up though. Okay, and that we got a Serval refrigerator recently. My grandmother had a Serval refrigerator, one moving part. One moving part. Now we got about 50 moving parts on those refrigerators. One moving part, piece of gas, and it was just the doors only moved. And the gas, and in the Far East or Mid East is using them all the time because they don't have electricity or they want to use it by gas. So Hercules just burnt up. Terrible thing to happen. Hercules, people don't know much about, but in 1900, we had 30,000 employees there. So 1 out of 3 people around here were working at Hercules. So some of your ancestors were in Hercules. Now this is what they did during World War II. But they made buggies between 1900 and 1921. They made 84,000 buggies, more than anywhere in the whole United States, this Hercules place. That just burnt down. It became partly Serval. It also became a little bit Arkless. So you've heard that just 1 million square feet that just burnt downtown. And it was a warehouse now. But we've got one of the Hercules plants that's over there on Franklin Street, and that's just been bought by Heritage Oil, and so they're going to remodel it and make it more modern, but try to keep some of the antiquity with it. So, who ran Hercules? McCurdy. He was the president. So you heard of McCurdy Hotel? He was the president. His fingers were in everything. He's on every board and everything. His vice president was a guy named Carson. So you heard of William Carson? That's named Camp Carson. Carson Center at U of E named after Carson. His son was Ellis, and he was flying up in World War II. And Ellis was very instrumental in getting planes to Evansville and did a lot of what he calls air games we had here in the early 70s. This is the fire right here. And that's the fire at Hercules. That's an aerial view right there. And that's the Hercules plant burning it. I'm sure some of your ancestors worked there. So Serval, our other big plant, and that's what just, part of it was just burnt and made all those things for World War II. Let me see. Okay. Now, that's what we got on time-wise. Okay, what questions you got?
Does the War Museum have a buggy that was made at that?
The question is, does the War Museum have a buggy that's made? There's 2 Hercules buggies at the Evansville Museum downtown. 2 Hercules buggies, original buggies, and I don't know the date they were made. We do have Mr. Postlethwaite's World War I limousine. It was Black Jack Pershing car, and it's a 1914 Packard. It's all olive green. It's in better shape than Mr. Stevens' cars. You could eat off the floor. You could eat off the floor. It is in such good shape, and it's insured for $1 million, but there's only one made, so it's worth more than that. He just got to get more insurance. But it's leather, black leather top. It's partly Cadillac made, but it's made by Packard, and we have that on display out there. But we don't have one of these Hercules buggies, but we'll try to find one of those. You got one?
Sure.
There is one at the Truman Museum. We were there this summer, and there's one and it has the sign made in Evansville, Indiana at Hercules.
Wow.
I've got the picture of it. And it was his own personal buggy, you know, his family's buggy.
In regards to that, we'd like to make our museum good enough that we could borrow things from other people and loan back and forth. But you wouldn't believe the criteria for museums. The criteria to have a museum of the highest quality, the construction cost is a lot because you have to have the right heating, the right temperature, the right humidity. You can't have any light. You can't have anything. So construction is very high to have a high quality museum. Now, the Evansville Museum downtown meets that quite a bit. You want to borrow things from the Getty Museum, from the Smithsonian, but they don't want you to have anything. And you got to have security, unbelievable security because of all those things.